Hey everybody, welcome to the call. We're getting our bearings as we wait a few minutes for our folks to kind of trickle in. I am back on the mainland, so we shouldn't have any, hopefully, technical difficulties like last time. So I appreciate everyone's patience. I do see a bit of a lag on my video, but hopefully that won't impact everything. Abby, uh, real quick, seeing my screen okay? No problems there.
Yeah, if you want to send me the link to the specific one so I have it on backup, that would be
Actually,
that
if you
would be
go
fun.
into just the catering space.com, I published
Okay.
it, so it's ready to go. So you can
Okay,
do
cool. I just didn't know if it
Uh,
was
so,
there.
but so yeah, so if I apologize, first of all, if you were on the call a couple of weeks ago, I do apologize. I was in Hawaii, we were having some issues, and Abby took over the responsibility of driving the call midway through, but it didn't record some of the information after, and I think that was because of how we had it set up. So we'll go ahead and get this going here shortly. We got another minute or two. It looks like we've got 30 folks. I know we had over 155, I think, that have registered. So we're going to give everybody a couple of minutes to get situated. As always, we do have the ability for you to do a Q&A. So Abby will be monitoring that as we go. So if you have any questions or anything, even about anything that's not what we're talking
Mhm.
about today, you just have a general question, please let us know. We love doing these. We love, hopefully, the content that you're getting from it, the information. It's helpful. We really try hard to make sure that you have quality takeaways after these are over, that you can, even if you find a handful of things that you can implement and execute at your restaurant or store or cafe or shop or whatever it is that you're calling your business, then we win. Especially since our goal is to do what we can to give back to this community that we truly love. And so always happy to answer any questions that come up if you'd like. Again, I compared Danielle and I thought we're just a couple of 50 somethings who like to talk about catering. So not that I'm exposing your age, so I apologize, Danielle. But we've been doing this for a
That's good.
really long time and are excited to share. So all right, so I'm going to give us a clean cut here of about 3 second pause. So when we do the editing and send the video out, this won't be on it. So everybody's going to be just quiet for a second. And welcome to the NCC Black Friday webinar. This one is being sponsored by Miss Danielle here and RevGen Marketing. Normally, we've been doing these once a month, but we wanted to do something extra this month in view of Black Friday. We're going to do these probably 2 or 3 times a year where we introduce a fairly urgent topic that's something that's going to come up. If you are familiar with our website, thecatering.space.com, it's again still a work in progress, probably will be somewhat for the remainder of the year. But our goal is to keep adding to this website and provide you with a lot of complimentary free content. We don't charge for what we do. We bring vendors in each month to kind of help and they can talk about their programs a little bit, but we don't even charge them. The goal here is a give back from me and Danielle to the community, and we want to keep doing so. So if you go to thecatering.space.com, all the information that we covered today, we're going to be published and it'll be available for you post call. But one of the things that you will see here is somewhere around here, if my mouse is working, where you'll see it says the next catering comet. So keeping with our space theme, we're going to do these a few times a year. And this one is built around, obviously, Black Friday catering opportunities. So I'm going to go ahead and click in here and take us to that site. Abby, I want to make sure just for technical purposes, it transitioned with me, right?
Yep,
Okay, we're in great
we're
shape.
all good.
The goal here is to have an error-free webinar. Well, first of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for being a part of it. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty here, but I wanted first to introduce my partner here. Danielle Guzetta is the owner slash CEO slash founder of RevGen Marketing. And we've put a little bit of a blurb up here for you when you're visiting the site, where you can learn more about Danielle. You can connect with her on LinkedIn directly if you'd like to connect. And you can also schedule a strategy session. That link right there will take you to her website. And when you get the link to everything, you can go and visit. But Danielle, tell a little bit about what RevGen is and then a little bit of background from you, since we probably haven't covered that in a few months. So just to make sure everybody's back up to speed.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everybody. Byron's right. Catering is what we do, and we just love this. After a decade as a chief marketing officer for the likes of Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza and Smoky Bones and some of the Earl brands, I did branch out on my own, started RevGen Marketing about 2 years ago. I am a marketing consultant that really helps restaurants generate revenue outside of their four walls. I know as a CMO, I was always scrambling to get butts in seats and drive traffic, that your bandwidth is always only so great. And I didn't realize how much opportunity really outside the four walls there are. So focused very heavily on catering. I built 6 or 7 catering programs now from scratch. Also help companies leverage their catering program. I'm kind of on the front end where I help you start up and build a catering program. That's from everything from product to menu to culinary to pricing to packaging to brand messaging. And then my partner here, Byron, comes in on the back end and can help you do inbound and outbound calling. I've used his services before with a few of my clients. That team, including Abby, is phenomenal. So it just kind of works. But if anybody needs any help with that, especially coming into Q4, which is where you're going to make 30 to 40% of your revenue off catering, I'm here to help in any way. So thank you for the introduction, Byron.
You bet, Danielle, and then of course Miss Abby from New Catering Connections is joining us. Abby is our director of communications, but she also functions as the person that throws me the life raft whenever I'm slowly looking like I'm going to drown. So she's here to kind of help make sure that I don't do anything stupid and to help answer your questions. So you'll see a Q&A section at the bottom. Abby, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit. Let people know how to interact with us if they'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining, everyone. Like he was saying, there's a Q&A section toward the bottom of your screen. I keep it open throughout the entire call. So any questions that you have, regardless of if it's about today or if it's about getting the recording, whatever it may be, you can add those in there and I'll make sure that we get you an answer by the end of this call. So anything you have, you can just drop them in there.
And we tend to have a process as we do this over the course of the next hour or so. We tend to be not really rigid to an hour. Sometimes we tend to go a little over. So everybody just understand you're welcome to drop off. If you have registered, and I see we've got about 75 attendees right now, which is great. That means we're going to go ahead and anyone that registered will get a copy of the recording, the video. We'll post it on YouTube, and then we will send you content information as well. And so one of the things as we kind of get into this, Black Friday is one of those, and so just for those of you who don't know me, which there's maybe several at this point, I'm the CEO and founder of New Catering Connections. Sometimes people call us the NCC group. Sometimes we're called NCC. We're almost 3 years old now, and we currently work with over 1,000 restaurants. And I think as of this morning, we were working with over 55 brands around the country and growing, and had some wonderful conversations today. So hopefully that'll go a little higher. But the idea behind what we do is we provide fractional catering sales support for restaurants. But my background was with the Honey Baked Ham Company, with them for about 17 years, many of them as the national director for corporate catering and corporate gifting. And I know on the registration list, I got some of my Honey Baked folks on the line. I think when we checked yesterday, almost 47 brands are represented on this call today, or have registered with us. So I love the variety and the ability to talk to so many different brands out there. The one thing that we're going to try to talk about today is we're going to try to keep everything really generic. And so what you need to think through as you're looking at this is, where does my brand fit? Where does my menu fit? My price point? Black Friday is an opportunity really for everyone. Now, maybe not everyone can capture that $2,000 target order. Maybe if you're a specialty retailer, maybe you need to look at jewelry stores. Maybe you need to look at security companies that are supporting different retail establishments around. At Honey Baked years ago, I used to do things with Yankee Candle and Godiva chocolate, and sometimes there were 12 or 15, but those tend to really be nice orders and can add up over the course of a weekend. Maybe yours is more Saturday driven versus Black Friday, more independent retailers, and you have some upside there. Maybe you're a Cyber Monday company that's able to tackle some of that distribution and delivery business and that we see that happen on the back end. But regardless, we're going to give you a variety of pieces of information over the course of the next hour or so that we think are going to be really good for you to be able to implement in your restaurants, shops, cafes, stores. A couple things that we're going to do to frame this up. So Black Friday, in case you didn't know, is November 28th through the 30th. turn one weekend into a year-round revenue. So there's some opportunities here for you to generate some relationships that can kind of carry on with you for inventory purposes. We know that there's some retail stores now that are doing more and more frequency during the year for employee appreciation type of events, or just to say, hey, we're going to have a bit busy day. We're a little short staffed and no one has a chance to leave. So we're going to go ahead and bring food in. And so the idea behind all of this is the ability to not only generate orders, but if you were on our last webinar, to talk about that long-term business as well. 197 million Americans transactions is probably the better term there, during the Thanksgiving holiday weekend across the 3 days, and probably leaning into Cyber Monday. Retailers are now adding 280,000 plus seasonal workers. And one of the things that the 57% number here was a polling data that said 57% of employees are saying that free food is their number one workplace benefit now when talking to seasonal employees. So understanding, if you think we know that, I'm sure brands know that. And even though you've had some long-term players, the TJX companies, so your TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, they've been doing meals for years for their employees. Burlington Coat Factory is another one that's very common. You're going to start to see more and more retailers participate in providing food for their employees. So hopefully we'll be able to share some of that with you today. So we're doing a webinar from a website. What the heck? So that's a little bit different for us. So the catering space is something that we've created that's going to be working. It's an ongoing site you'll have access to and be able to see all of this information. We also thought, instead of doing a separate presentation and then sending you that and then having a website, we do everything from the website, because that's our thing for whatever it is. That's our model that we're going to use as we continue to do these. But then we also found out jumping around a website sometimes can be a little bit hard on the eyes. So you'll find that we've created a slideshow within the website to be able to assist us. So we're going to be working off of the slideshow for the course of the webinar today. But I want you to know that all the content is here. It's below inside. So, and they all have click-throughs, and we'll show you what all of that looks like as we go along. So understand that all this information we're going to be covering in the slide presentations, we're going to dip into some of the others as we go in different spots, so you can kind of get a glimpse of what's inside and what we've tried to do. So Danielle, anything else before we dig in on Black Friday, before we overview? Abby,
nope, that's great. You covered it, but timing is of the essence.
Yep.
The clock starts ticking today in time to be set up for Black Friday.
That's it. And the first thing we wanted to communicate, and we'll probably touch on it a bit, it's not too late, but it's also we got to get an sense of urgency in place to be able to make this happen. So the first thing I wanted to talk about about Black Friday is that all of the things that we've been talking about now for the last 3 to 4 months, which was the catering customer journey and how they apply here. So in the Black Friday frame of mind, when you think of awareness, do people know that you cater? One, and two, do they know what you cater, and is this a good fit for this specific opportunity? So is that awareness there? And if it's not, what can you do to kind of create some of that? And I think, again, collateral that goes out, communications with your regular catering customers, talking to people over the counter, anything you can do to kind of create a sense of awareness. Exploration. Before we go back into that, and Danielle and I have migraines over it, don't make it hard to find you. And if they do find you, don't make it hard to get the information. Take off, if you have the ability, take off of those roadblocks where I've got to put an email address or I've got to do something just to see your menu. Menu information is very valuable and it's good real estate for marketing. I get it. But if somebody's got a hassle to be able to find it, they will oftentimes move on. And so whatever you can do to remove roadblocks to make exploration a little easy. Then we're going to talk about connection, your ability to reach out. What methods should you use? What's the timing look like? We're going to cover some of that today. And then obviously the commitment piece. We've covered all of those in our last webinars about general catering, but where Black Friday is concerned, all of those skills that hopefully you've been working through and maybe adding to your repertoire are starting to take hold. This is a good time to practice some of it right now. So the catering journey applies here is really the message there. We'll do a brief history on Black Friday because I think it's important to understand how we got here. So you'll see when you dig into it a little bit, retail's power to change the calendar. So retail created Black Friday, just like we created the modern day version of Santa Claus, why we decided that bacon was a breakfast food and why we used to think that cigarettes were good for us and now they're not. It's all the power of retail and the ability to make something happen. Retail created Black Friday out of nothing to help accommodate some of the gaps of time between Thanksgiving and the following Monday prior to Christmas. And so a lot of advertising agencies over the years created this idea of Black Friday to be able to stimulate sales. Um, as the 1950s emerged, which is when most of this initial power of suggestion, I guess, started to arise, it started to become into a cultural phenomenon. The title Black Friday seems to go back to the 60s, and it seems to have originated in Philadelphia through the police department, through some bad, I guess, some scuffles or fisticuffs or whatever that might have been taking place in that area. What we started to see is that when it started to kind of have a bad connotation, that meant black meaning dreary and just complicated and hard. They started to put a new spin on it, which was the day that businesses go from the red, retailers go from the red, which is a loss, into the black, and that's kind of been the commentary since then. And then the last major historical change was in around 2005 when Cyber Monday emerged. And if you've been doing Black Friday for multiple years but have not really paid much mind to Cyber Monday, it's growing. It's a much bigger opportunity than it was even 5 years ago. COVID kind of pushed it to the forefront. So when you're starting to think of Black Friday opportunities, think past Kohl's and Best Buy and Macy's, and also think about distribution centers, and not necessarily just Amazon. I know we all like, we all pray to the throne of Amazon, but there's others out there. You'll see even something like a CVS distribution center. You'll see Target, Walmart, Ace Hardware. All these different places will have distribution centers strategically placed around the country. And if there's one in your area, they're going to be super busy that weekend. So something to think about. So Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving when retailers offer massive discounts and now generates over 30 billion in annual sales, and usually with the range from 4 a.m. to midnight. So why do we point out that 4 a.m. to midnight piece? Because that's possibly when you need to be able to start providing meals in this window of time. COVID chased some of those. We're going to just open at 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving night and stay open through the next day. COVID kind of killed off some of that momentum that you were starting to see in retail some years ago. But for many of them are opening at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. You're starting to see those retailers open up early. That means staff needs to be in there sometimes as early as 4 a.m. And the night before, for Thanksgiving evening, there still may be some folks coming in at midnight or 2 a.m. I know, Abby, didn't you do an Academy?
I was going to say I've done that, and JCPenney, all of those type of stores were open like night before, coming in even before midnight. So it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. So food options may literally start, if how aggressive you are and how hungry you are as a restaurant. You may start seeing needs pop up as early as 3 or 4 in the morning, possibly even at midnight, depending on the scenario. So understanding the potential is not just lunchtime on Friday. It can be breakfast on Friday. It can be early morning hours and even late into the evening, depending on how their shifts are set up. Why Black Friday is different? Because unlike regular catering, it requires delivery only service. If you do not have delivery as part of what you offer, I would consider adding it, or at least over the course of these 2 or 3 days, only because pickup is virtually impossible for retailers. If you are in a mall, you definitely are not able to really get out and do anything. Parking is a nightmare. The logistics and traffic around the mall will delay everything. So your ability to provide a delivery service, at least for this 3-day weekend, is huge for you to be able to participate and be effective. So keep that in mind. The key market insight: most retailers default to pizza because they don't know professional catering exists for workforce feeding. So it creates an untapped market. You'd be surprised how many retailers out there never hear from a single restaurant. Maybe less common than it used to be, but I know that there's still a lot of retailers or general managers out there who just don't hear from anyone, or they hear from someone at the last minute. Because we've talked to many, even here at NCC, that are just saying they're planning orders now. we've had some orders already kind of come in and talked about the holidays, and they're planning their booking now. They're just saying, we don't know exactly how many bodies we need to feed, but go ahead and lock us in so we can be on this on your radar. So don't think they don't. So reaching out can be a revelation for them. A lot of times they go, well, pizza's easy, right? It can sit there on the table. People can nuke it for 10 seconds and they're going to be fine. This is where you as a salesperson have the ability to overcome that and just say, listen, we can do this too. And guess what? We've done this for a long time and we're really good at it. And so understanding that your job here is not to convince them the quality of your tortilla or where you get your tomatoes from. This is about a quality product being able to be efficiently served and distributed across their org that's going to not be disruptive to their operations. So your ability to communicate this is going to be very important. Market opportunity scale. Some of your bigger side, I have 500 to 1500 there, but I know last year we were seeing some Targets and even some Costco's that were approaching $2,500, $3,000 orders. Even at $8, $10 a person budget, this is a magnificent opportunity if you can nail it down. Black Friday weekend, including Cyber Monday, is the ultimate low-hanging fruit. The orders are going somewhere. I can guarantee you they're not just going to order or not order. If you don't get it, your competitors will, and we don't want that to happen, right? So, Danielle, any thoughts along the way on any of this so far? I know we got you got some slides coming up. So, and finally, on history and overview. Geographic targeting, 3 to 5 miles. If you don't have a lot of retail within 3 to 5 miles, then look at other possible options. Traffic is already going to be a nightmare. The ability to navigate logistically through shopping plazas and malls can be hard. So don't go too far. Don't overshoot your radius because drive time there and back. I'll tell you, many years ago at Honey Baked, I was literally 1.25 miles from the mall. And sometimes it would take as much as 30 minutes to get back and forth because of the traffic, the lights, and everything. So understand that just because the mall is closed doesn't mean it's fast. And so trying to stay within something where you can logistically get your drivers there and back is going to be very important. Plus, the closer you are, the more awareness they have of you. And so especially if you are an independent restaurant or you are only one of your brand in that market, even if you're 7-10 miles away, they're like, why would I order with you when I can order from someone here? So stay in your zone as much as you can. If you feel the urge to reach out, do so. It's a harder sale. I'm just saying, start close and work your way out. Your decision timeline, guess what? We're getting close. It's about right here. It's 6 to 8 weeks in advance. We are approximately 9 weeks out right now. So decisions are going to be made sooner than not. So whatever you can do over the next couple of weeks to help initiate getting the word out is very important. So they're not making all their decisions now. Some people will make them closer, but early decisions are on people's radars and they're coming. Service requirements. It requires delivery, reliability, space efficient food preparation, which we'll get into what that means in a little bit. It just means that if your specialty is buffet and they have a break room designed for 14 people normally, but at the holidays they have 80 people working in the building, that break room is still built for 14 and a buffet may not fit. And so it's understanding how your product space-wise also impacts Black Friday is important as well. Flexible timing. It's hard for you to tell them when you can get there if it doesn't line up with their scheduling. And so a lot of times they will say, I need you here between 10:30 and 10:45. That doesn't mean you can say, can I come at 11:15? They're feeding people in shifts. So your ability to get food to them in their windows is really critical here. And professional service that doesn't add management burden. The last thing they want is a complicated process that's going to disrupt their situation. And so you want something that is easy to drop off, easy to set up, and easy to distribute. So keep that in mind. And then relationship building. Black Friday success creates ongoing catering opportunities, referrals, and positioning for other busy periods throughout the year. So don't think of this as an order. Think of this as a potential relationship. So most general managers, this is a comment I've always made. I've taught it for years. General managers that are in place in September are there through the holidays unless they quit. No one's getting fired in retail as a general manager at this point, because the mentality for most retailers is you go with what you have, because the disruption of losing a leader at this point is hard to overcome. So you'll find that many times your decision makers are already there, so you can start reaching out to them because they're hopefully going to be there ideally through the holiday. So first of all, again, like anything else, please, Q&A is very open. If you want to ask any questions, just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up here, we're going to dig into it and then I'll go back under the history and overview. There's a source and everything for the history of Black Friday if you want to go through it. And then we talk about the market opportunity, why Black Friday catering is different. And then really talk about some examples that you might enjoy. There's Amazon and Target and Walmart. One of the things I wanted to touch on that I thought was interesting before I hand it to Danielle for the next phase, hospital and emergency services, people that have to work in necessary positions during holidays, a lot of times food is brought in. So don't not think about your hospitals, your 911 call centers, anything in that scenario. There may be some upside there as well. So just wanted to share with you that these deep dives are in place for you when you have access to it, where you can come back and check everything out. So, all right. So Danielle, we're going to get to you with, find the right slide, timing strategy.
I'm going to hop into the deeper dive, the timing strategy. I'll just cover some highlights because I really want them. So if you click below in the box, there you go. Perfect. So we talked about timing being critical. You don't want to start too soon. You'll be forgotten. You don't want to be too late. You'll miss opportunities. So really now is the time. Between now and mid-November is the critical time for you to really go after this Black Friday business. And the key to being successful at Black Friday is organization, planning, setting up well in advance so it's not just a free-for-all. So in these first couple of weeks, you really want to be, identifying your big centers that are there: Amazon, FedEx, UPS, big box retailers, Best Buy, Walmart, Target. I will tell you, one of my larger clients last year, I put them in touch with, there's 52 Amazon hubs across the country. I put them in touch with a couple of Amazon centers. One Amazon hub did $16,000 in one day. We did an $8,000 lunch order and an $8,000 dinner order. So the potential is there if you start reaching out and cultivating those relationships. Doesn't mean you got to go for these huge opportunities. There's small little retail centers, boutiques, one-offs, even local targets. Start identifying all of these outreach programs, hospitals, fire departments, rescue centers. All of these are great opportunities to start reaching out. Start planning your menu. As Byron said, easy in, easy out. Box lunches seem to work ideal. If you have a small setup, a small kitchen, you bring in a box lunch, it's a grab and go. You can't have 1,000 people in the lunch room at one time. And so buffet style is tough. So start thinking about what your options look like if people don't want a buffet style. A grab and go box is huge.
I was thinking something real quick. So if you've got stackable platters, that's an option as well. So as long as the platters, what's underneath is exactly like what's on top, you can open a platter, people can take sandwiches, when it's done, move it, the next one's there. So stackable platters is an option too, but yes, box lunches is probably the king on this one.
Absolutely. And start outlining your messaging. What are you going to put on your website? What is your email going to say? What are your social posts going to say? Start writing those now so that they're handy and you're not really scrambling. Moving on to the next, weeks 3 and 4. This is where you're going to, actually start your outreach program. Start reaching out to people. As Byron said, this is on people's mind. People are starting to think about it. So within the next couple of weeks, you're going to want to start some of this outreach. I've spoke about sample drops in the past. I am a huge fan of this. Sample drops are the best marketing tool you have. We talk about catering and how to get that business. You really only need to be 1% better than your competitor. This is an example of being 1% better. This is you. I know it's hard to get boots on the ground and get people out there, but to do a sample drop, corporations say, hey, this person took the time, we sampled their food, you leave behind a catering menu, the contact of the catering director or the general manager. This goes a long way and it costs you about 30 cents on the dollar. I am a huge proponent of this. Even if you have to hire temporary help, kids that are home as interns, this would be a great opportunity to get the word out and get in front of them.
One thing I want to share about general managers in retail stores is their schedule. A lot of times they're working midday because they need to catch the top half of the day and the second half. So a lot of general managers sometimes will work 11 to 7s, 12 to 8s, depending on the, so maybe it's a 6 p.m. drop off for a meal. It's not, maybe it doesn't have to be in the middle of your lunch rush. And so maybe it's as you're leaving for the day as an owner or a general manager, you bring 4 or 5 box lunches with you with a menu and you go see 4 or 5 places. So you can factor it into the day, but I wanted to share that real quick. Don't assume that they're working banker's hours. They may be working more middays. So
Absolutely. Great point. So you're really into the hardcore outreach now on weeks 3 and 4. You're starting to take orders. Weeks 5 and 6, follow up, follow up, follow up. This is your time to confirm orders. Make sure you understand their needs, when it needs to be delivered. And this is the time, if at all, you would want to offer some promotional discounts. People are going to order on Black Friday and they really don't look at the price tag. So you don't really want to offer anything up front. And so really if you can take on more business, this is the time that you might want to place the order now. We can throw in a tray of cookies or whatever else to sweeten the deal. And then obviously the final weeks is execution and delivery. But I really want to scroll down and talk about this. And then Byron, and I talked about this earlier, the power of a detailed quote. I'm going to reference this again. You only need to be 1% better than your competitor to get the business. And this is another 1%. Sending a detailed, customized quote that outlines the total project costs, you will outperform anyone who sends over generic pricing. Here are some of the statistics. You'll have a 3.2 higher conversion rate than if you send out generic pricing. 73% prefer a breakdown because they know what they're getting. They have a comfort level. They see that you have heard them, what they need to order, when they need it. It's all kind of nice and tight and neat, tidy. And then 67% chance you're going to get approval rating if they have to float it up the line versus just turning in a general price sheet. So this is why we want to really focus on detailed quotations. It might take you a couple minutes longer to do, but you outline all of this, you create a comfort level for this person to easily get to yes. So when prospects receive a detailed quotation, they can visualize the event, justify the investment. Generic pricing lists, really, they have to guess, what am I getting? When am I getting? There's an uncertainty there. So Byron, I know you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I was going to say with catering, everyone has this expectation now. Well, there's going to be a delivery fee, or there's going to be a handling charge, or there's going to be a service fee, or there's going to be an automatic tip, and all this other stuff. The quote puts it all out there for you, so they don't have to. Because what's worse is when you get somebody goes, oh, we're $10 a person. They go, great, I need to feed 100 people, $1,000, and then you come back with a $1,177 bill. And they're like, well, wait a minute. Well, we didn't factor all of that in there. The quote will fix all of that because you're sending it out up front. The one on the right side, that 67% buying committee approval, I like as well, because if they've got to submit that to a DM or to some team at the corporate level to authorize, then a quote with the totals built in already is going to move this process faster. And I think that's the value here. And we're going to touch into some of it. But I had a question, and if you guys are out there in the Q&A, I think that's our best way to answer that. Do any of you do a order by this date and receive a set discount? In other words, order by October 31st and get 10% off or 15% off. Order by November 15th and get this, to create a sense of urgency, because I would love to know, one, does it work? And two, just share if you can share even a brief story so we can understand, not that you want to give away all your secrets like we do, but the idea behind it is I have been a proponent of considering that as something that we push to our clients, but wanted to get some feedback. Danielle, any thoughts on a urgency discount, I guess is what we would call it in that scenario?
I think that's a great way. If you haven't done a ton of catering, or you haven't been at the top of the list for holiday catering, Black Friday catering, I think that's absolutely something people can consider. I like to hold to the end, but that's only if you're really kind of well known and you've been catering for these people for a while, and you got to get them over the finish line. Otherwise, no, I think that's a very valid point. And I do see a lot of my clients do that. 10% or add in something free or what have you. And it does entice somewhat to get them to yes.
I'm a value add person myself. In other words, if you want to go ahead and do this, I'll do chip and a sandwich for $10. And if you order by this day, I'll throw in a cookie. something like that. Sometimes that can be more expensive, or free delivery. I'll do free delivery. I'll do something, but provide some sort of incentive out there to close early. Why close early? Because when you close early, and especially if you can get prepayment early, what it'll do is it'll start to solidify that business for you. It's locked in, and it helps you to plan and order and schedule and delivery planning and all the other stuff you need to do versus last minute stuff, which is hard to plan for because by nature it's last minute. So quotation strategy, why and how to send professional quotes. Professional quote demonstrates credibility, outlines clear expectations, provides legal protection, possibly as well, to this is what we said, and it creates a formal commitment process. Include a detailed menu descriptions of what you're offering, what that per person pricing is, delivery timelines, anything along those lines to give confidence. The goal here of a quote is we're connected. We're making an agreement. I'm professional. I'm able to commit to this to you if you commit to me right now. And what it does, it's instead of it being a casual approach to be able to close business, it starts to feel like these people know what they're doing. It gives confidence to the buyer that you are standing behind what you do. Send quotes within 24 to 48 hours of initial interest. And the reason I wanted to point this out is sometimes you're like, well, I don't know the exact amount, or they just told me approximately their budget is. Send two quotes. Send one for platters and one for boxes. Send one for half chicken and half chicken salad. It doesn't matter. Send whatever you need to show them to say, listen, if you order this product for your employees and you're about this many, here's what it should approximately cost. And what it does, if the quantity changes, the quantity changes. But the idea behind it is for them to see what you are bringing to the table and how it works. So, but you got to do it quickly. So you get on a call, you qualify, you capture that information, then send a quote. That 3.2x ROI, I've seen it internally. We've got one person that really is aggressive about sending quotes, and she's probably one of our biggest closers because of it. And I think it's something that more and more people need to embrace. So how to follow up, again, 2 to 3 days after you've learned, hopefully from that contact, what's the best form of communication? Do they prefer email or text, or should I call them or go visit, whatever it might be? But follow up. Did you get it? Did you have any questions? Did you understand? Is there anything I need to change or edit for you? Be that professional person on the other end. A quote gives positions you as a legitimate partner, not just another food vendor. The perception shift is crucial, especially if you do have a premium price. So we're going to talk about targets for a little bit. And this one's fun. We're going to go through it pretty quickly, only because I think you're going to see a lot of value, hopefully, here. We put some time into it, so hopefully you do. So your targets for Black Friday, there's 4. There's 1 and 1A. Big box retailers and then specialty retailers. Those should obviously, for anyone, should be your targets. They should be who you want to go after. Which ones you choose to go after, I think depends. So I see a lot of our friends from Gray's Craze on here, charcuterie brand. You're going to have a hard time selling charcuterie to 200 employees at a Target. But maybe you're a black and white store, or maybe you are a jeweler, or maybe you want to talk to Anthropology. You're talking to some of those types of brands that kind of go, well, wait, that's different. That's a little unusual. That might be something. So make sure your product fits budget and who the target audience is appropriately. If I'm doing pizza, or I'm doing fried chicken, or I'm doing something like that, I'm going to go after the Targets of the world in those. But maybe if I'm a little bit more of a higher end catering provider, I want to look for a little bit higher end targets as well. So keep that in mind. And when I say target, meaning the business, not the target.
I mean, sometimes some of those higher end stores, the jewelry stores and the likes that you just mentioned, they sometimes put food out for their retail shoppers, right? They put out some appetizers, some cheese and crackers or whatever. So it's not only just from the employee side of it, but sometimes from the shopper side. I've seen clients cater those as well. Afternoon cookies, things like that.
Especially if you have a high-end mall and you have the Chanel, or you have the Tiffany. I'm sure there's more. I'm not a shopper, by the way, if you couldn't tell. But those high-end brands, because I've seen those malls that have the Prada and that kind of thing. That's a great idea. If you're a high-end, like a charcuterie brand, or you are doing a little bit more on the gourmet catering side, I think that would be a great opportunity. So specialty retailers, those are going to be your second tier. So think of Bath and Body Works would be a good fit. Victoria's Secret would be another one. Express, something that's not a big box, but they do more of a certain type of retail. And then distribution and delivery. This is where I'm like, if you have any warehousing in your space, go see what you've got. If it's delivery services, because delivery is going to be hugely busy that weekend. So delivery companies might be a good fit. But distribution, warehousing, those kinds of places over that pre-Thanksgiving weekend and all the way through Cyber Monday are going to be huge opportunities. And then finally, consider things like shopping centers, the mall itself, the mall office, the security department there, property management companies that own these shopping plazas may have some upside. So one of the things I'm going to drop down here real quick into our deep dive, and I want to show you some of the things that we've built out. So you'll see the Black Friday target priority where we talk about primary, secondary, and then tertiary opportunities. When you come down here and you see Black Friday by category, you'll see where it says retail centers. I'm going to click on shopping malls and plazas. Abby, make sure, did it move to the next page? I just want to make sure everything's moving right. Okay. So you'll see I have Simon Property here, Mace Rich, Kimco, Brookfield, some of the largest property management companies in the country. So we'll click on Simon real quick. If you are in Indianapolis, I might reach out to Simon Properties, who is the biggest owner of shopping malls in the whole country, because I'm sure they're going to be extremely busy at their corporate headquarters that weekend as well, where you can then visit their website. There's an address. So if you're in Indy, this is a good lead for you. But you may be able to work out something at the national level to be able to help you. So you'll see all of these. So you can click on regional malls. It's going to take you to their website. I don't know if did it change pages with me, Abby? Is it showing the other website? All right. Here's the question. I got to figure out how to get back to my other one. I hope I didn't mess that up. All right. All right. Let me see. I got to get out of full screen. All right. Man, I knew I was going to mess this up at some point, huh? All right. So we're going to go back to this, but I'll show you anyway. It'll take you to the before I kind of get off and mess everything up. So you'll have the ability to link out to their regional malls. You'll be able to reach out to their premium outlets. And so you can find some local contact information there. That was definitely one I wanted to promote and let you know that is in here for you. The other side of it is back to, sorry for the back and forth, y'all. I wanted to share the big box retailers. So one of the things that we tried to build for you here, and if you find any glitches, let me know, because I've gone over it like 15 times. I think I've got it figured out. But we have the big box retailers. We'll have a website built out for you. We have a store locator for you, so you can see all of their locations around the country. And then we've even added a how to sell to component that we think will hopefully help you. For example, Target usually has an HR manager on the premises who usually handles their Black Friday. Macy's is another one, if I remember, has an HR manager on the property. Walmart does not have an HR manager on the property, and that tends to default over to the store manager. Oh, and if everybody wants a tip while we're here, we found out that Walmart does buy food for Veterans Day for their employees, which is kind of neat. So anyway, but ideally, we wanted to kind of give you a heads up on how the structure is management-wise within each store. And then we've even got some opening lines. So, hey, hi, Mike. I know Walmart values efficiency and cost control. We specialize in feeding large teams like yours during periods like Black Friday. Can I show you how we can save companies some money with some options that we have, et cetera? For your 450 associates working Black Friday weekend hours, we can provide hot meals, or if that's what you do, at $8 to $12 per person. Versus what some other places might be charging, while boosting morale and productivity. So we try to give you some scripting, some conversation pieces to kind of get that going as well. But we'll try to tell you in each one of those approximately how many employees they have, what we anticipate their estimated budget is, etc. So the goal for us is to be able to provide these for you. There's one for Home Depot as well. In fact, we did one, I think, for 41 big box retailers, all the way down to IKEA, Neiman Marcus, TJ Maxx. Hopefully it'll help you there. And then we did the same thing for our specialty retailers as well. We didn't get into how to sell to so much, but locations, websites, if I have time to build out some how to sell, we'll do that. Time ran out on me a little bit on some of this. But this will show you specialty retailers, how many employees per store, but just hopefully some tools that we can really help you. There's Ashley Home Store, West Elm, K Jewelers, Zales, GameStop, Ulta, where it's just a one-stop shop for you to come in here and look at each one and find locations and then just zip code yours and see if there's one in the area. So some things that we've built out here, hopefully that you find helpful. We also focused on distribution centers. So you'll see Amazon fulfillment centers with all of their locations, Walmart distribution centers, Target. We've even got FedEx, UPS, DHL, XPO, Shopify, fulfillment by Amazon, it says down here. There's some others. So you might find there's some really cool. So if you go to locations, it'll kind of, I did it again, didn't I? Anyway, I'm sorry, I gotta quit doing that.
This is a huge resource. I mean, guys, this is, as a chief marketing officer who built catering programs, and this is just, everything is right here at your fingertips. I mean, this is the playbook that you need to really be successful.
We wanted to get, we just want to give you some tools.
Huge resource.
Really, really some nice tools to hopefully help you. So we start talking about targets again. You'll have all those in there. What I would want to say is competition will smother the bigger places. If there's anyone's going to get busy, you're going to get called for Black Friday from all the restaurants in the area. It's going to be the Targets. It's going to be the Home Depots, the Best Buys, the Lowe's are going to get the calls. So understanding where you fit in the equation, if you want to go after that business, you got to be early and you got to make an impact. By the time your competitors get there, they should know who you are, what you sell, and what your price is before your competitors ever get there. Consider specialized menus at times. So if you talk to folks and they start to tell you, I only have a $6 per person budget, maybe that's a half a sandwich and a bag of chips. Maybe the goal is not to feed them till they're full, but to feed them until they're not hungry anymore. And so it's about how you can approach that conversation. Say, listen, let me take your budget back and let me run some math. I'll get something back over to you shortly. And the ability for you to adapt is going to be very important. So understanding how all that works, but there's a lot of things down here. So delivery companies, banks are going to be busy on Black Friday. They always are. I've sold a lot of catering to banks on Black Friday over the years, but the idea of understanding of what the goal is here. So I think that's really key. So I wanted to share that with everyone on the targeting piece here real quick. And every time I deep dive, it takes me back here. So understanding big box, specialty retailer, shopping centers, distribution. The competition reality, again, the competition will smother the big guns. Figure out who you are. Smaller boutique stores may have better budgets, and that's something that we wanted to make sure we communicated as well. Independent retailers are sometimes busier on Saturday. Friday's not a busier day for them. That's the big boxes get all that business. Sometimes your independent retailers, your specialty, they get the rush on Saturday. And a lot of times those brands are counting on that. So you'll see a lot of mid-size and specialty retailers and independents do their promotion on Saturdays. So sometimes so understand that big box Friday, specialty Saturday, whatever that might be. So keep those things in mind. Most of the time, to be honest with you, they have little room for negotiation. Their budget is their budget. They've been given that by corporate. Here's how much you have to spend. And this is it. So it's not like you can say, well, I know you said 10, but can you do 1150? Don't extend the sales cycle on this if you don't have to. Go, if they tell you 10, find 10 if you can do that. If it means tweaking, adjusting, then go that path. If you are a general manager for our corporate location, get your DM involved. What can we do? What flex do we have? If you're a brand leader and you're supporting a lot of corporate locations, have a plan now on what wiggle room or what can we allow our GMs to do. Don't take these as one-offs. It's going to kill you. If you can kind of come up with a plan on the front end and let the GMs know, listen, your budget is here. If they come to you and you can't fit that, here's what your options are, A, B, C, to be able to do. So you can instruct your restaurants in advance what their options are. So that's really important. So hopefully some good information here for you to come back and review later. Who are your points of contact? General managers are oftentimes the decision maker for most. Sometimes it is the HR manager if they are present in the building. Sometimes it can be at the operations director level. So it can be a DM level decision sometimes. And then other times it can go to corporate. Contact information research. LinkedIn is going to be a good place for you to source that information if you are active on LinkedIn. If you are active on LinkedIn, then make a connection there. If not, just a name will give you enough sometimes to get you going. So don't worry about visiting LinkedIn for help. It may be where you need to find out some of this information. So messaging and branding, Danielle, back to you.
Okay, let's drop down to the deeper dive, because I want them to see that we've got some scripting and things there for them to use, because we put some time. So critically important, you need to craft a compelling message, right? Talking about your strengths, your weaknesses, how are you going to sell this? And depending on who you're presenting to, just as Byron said, you might be presenting to an HR person, you might be presenting to the head of operations or a general manager. The tone changes as well as the messaging changes. So one thing that we know is for sure is that we want to emphasize employee care. This is a weekend that people are working. This is a win-win for companies to be able to give back to their employees, do something nice for them. 57% of them enjoy getting food as a free perk, and it keeps the people there. People are not leaving, they're more productive, etc. So that's something you want to use as leverage when you talk to some of these brands. Reliability. As Byron said, these guys are busy. They don't have time to follow orders, chase orders, track down orders. You need to make sure that your team is on time for delivery and making sure that you're communicating with the brand. If you're running a few minutes late, let them know. This is key. And then obviously seamless service. They're busy. You want to get in there, you want to drop off your box lunches, and you want to get out. If you need to set up, you want to make sure you have silverware, you make sure you have dishes and napkins and all that stuff, so that the company doesn't miss a beat with what's going on Black Friday or Saturday. We talked already about space is an issue. Time is often tight. So think about these things. How big is their lunchroom? How can we grab and go? Maybe you don't want to have mayonnaise on something that's sitting out if it's going to be sitting out for 4 hours. They don't have room to refrigerate things. So these are the things you want to think about upfront as you're talking to the client, so that you can craft this specific proposal slash quote for them. We can scroll down. We've also put together, Byron, next, we've also put together here some primary phone conversation to get you guys going, whether this is phone or email. We've got some scripts for you. We've got some scripts for you by role. Are you talking to the operator? You're talking to the HR person. You know, Black Friday is your team's hardest working day. This is what you're talking about with the HR director, where maybe from the operator standpoint, you're talking about these people are doing 12-hour shifts. Let's do something great for them. And then we've got some email starters for you guys. You can kind of peruse through. Yep. And here we go ahead. You know, everybody has a different need. When you're managing people, the employee retention is important for HR people, efficiency for operator managers, facilities, no hassle setup. So these are some of the key points that you're going to want to touch on depending on who in the organization you are having the conversation with. You're going to want to tailor that message accordingly. Scroll down.
Sales is so much about the message you choose to share and what they get to hear. And so have a point of view, I guess, is what I think. In other words, you're talking to an HR manager, and you need to, well-fed employees, a lot of times, I was reading a stat the other day that said they're 31% more productive and 37% less likely to miss a day for being sick. Little things like that can really go a long way in the course of just a regular conversation. So don't underestimate the power of you having a perspective versus just, I'm trying to sell some sandwiches, or I'm trying to sell a Mexican buffet or whatever it might be. So.
Absolutely. We've got some, you want to talk about your competitive advantage. Is it that you're fresh? Is it that you're direct and personal? Can you customize? You want to talk about your brand authority. Are you the local go-to? What is your track record? Let your success stories and case studies and testimonials do the talking for you. If you have those, share them. It's coming from a third party that's endorsing you. Just some things to keep in mind. You might even, just to even help the company think about it, you might even come up with some specific packaging, like, Black Friday energy package, or 24/7 fuel, or midnight warrior meals. I mean, that might make it easier. People are busy, getting people lunch or dinner or breakfast. I don't want to say it's an afterthought, but it's something they've got to do. Make it as easy as possible to get them to yes. You want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say there's something here too called the multi-meal deal, where you might feed them 3 times in the same day. If you've got versatility on your menu and you can do breakfast and you come back and do lunch and then give them a dinner option that's completely different, you might be able to hit all 3 shifts with the same. So yeah.
Absolutely. Clarity, you want to make sure we've really covered this. Make sure you're clear, make sure you make an emotional connection. What is your differentiating factor? Again, you only have to be 1% better than your competition. And I know there's a slide up there in the deck, Byron, we want to hop to, I think it's slide 16 of 23, talks a little bit more about the difference between marketing and communications. Let's see. Yep, here we go. Messaging and communications. They are not the same thing. Your message is the information that you want to share. It focuses on, the necessity of feeding your team during Black Friday. This is the message. The communication is, how do you get it across? Is it phone? Is it email? Is it text? Is it social? It could be the same message tailored across multiple channels. It's the way you approach and help these decision makers make decisions. The most effective thing is when you marry these two, right? Your message and the channel comes together. That's where we talked about messaging for an HR director might be different than messaging for a GM. So you want to make sure you're really marrying the two, and that's really going to be what's most successful for you. Focus on meeting the practical need and feed hardworking staff during their busy day, right? Again, Byron talked about this. If you can't do a budget for, $10 a head, figure out what you can do for $6 a head. Meet their need where they are. And then really your brand messaging is the cherry on top. And this is critically important because, as Byron said, this isn't a one-time deal. We hope that you do a phenomenal job with Black Friday, and then you are a go-to for this brand throughout the year and for next year for Black Friday. You've got Christmas coming up, you've got New Year's coming up. There's really a lot of potential and opportunity for future catering efforts.
One thing we should point out here is, and we've seen this more in the last couple of years, and I think it's going to be a trend that continues. Brands are not just giving them a Black Friday budget. They're giving them a Black Friday budget. They're giving them a Saturday before Christmas budget. They're giving them a post-holiday return budget. Some of them are doing every Saturday between Thanksgiving and Christmas because that's the busiest day of the week. So the busiest dollar day, transaction day is Black Friday. The busiest dollar day for most holiday sales is the Saturday before Christmas. The last minute, there's not as many deals happening anymore, and people are just paying a full price. So the idea that this is a one-time event, I think, is changing. And so to Danielle's point, you're not only just building an opportunity for this order, but you're building an opportunity for subsequent business as we proceed. The one thing that I wanted to touch on and emphasize here real quick with you is, if you're a catering sales manager, and I know we've got a bunch, I'm seeing the names on here, you're used to selling the benefits of your brand and what's a separator, a differentiator for you. And you talk about the quality, and you talk about the flavor profile, and you talk about those things that are very important. Black Friday is less about that. It's more about sustenance and necessity. I have to buy meals and they need to be fed. And so they tend to be less adventurous. They tend to be less, they want less complicated. And so keep that in mind as you're approaching folks. You may have an amazing tofu taco. It probably isn't going to be high on their priority list that day. So understanding what parts of your menu are the right fit, I think, is huge. And so keeping that in mind. When we talk about the communication piece, the messaging, Danielle pointed out, there's a bunch of ways to really effectively message and get your message out. The communication, though, if you use the wrong communication, it doesn't matter how good the message is, because they're not going to hear it. So if emailing has proven to be on deaf ears, don't keep emailing someone. It's not working. If they're not responding, go visit, bring a sample, have someone on your team go visit, call if you need to. But whatever it is, don't keep repeating the same bad communication channel if you find it's not working. And then your brand ultimately is the cherry on the top, but not so much about your variety and all the other stuff. It's your reputation is the cherry on the top, in that, for us, quality, us for quality and flavor, but we also have a 99.8% on-time delivery record since 2022, whatever yours might be. Re-emphasize your strengths and what you do well. And it's not that not only that we have a great product and it tastes really good, but we are efficient as heck. That's where brands like Chick-fil-A and some of them have always soared, because of the consistency of the product, the simplicity of the execution, and their ability to get it to you in a very timely manner. Those are some strengths that we can cross apply to your brand. You just got to figure out the right wording to be able to make that happen. So I think message and communication, that blend of those, is hugely important. So we're going to talk about communication for a little bit. I think, again, is I'm not the if I could make all the decisions, this is what I would suggest: visit as many as you can. And if it means I'm gonna cut out at 4 today, my team can handle it, and I'm gonna hit these 5 retailers today. I'm going to go drop lunch. I'm going to bring a menu and I'm going to have a conversation. And then tomorrow I'm going to hit 5 more. And then I do that for 6 or 7 days over a couple of weeks. And I've now hit my primary targets with food so they can see what I have as a thank you and as a conversation piece. Because if I tell you, hey, can you get your general manager for me? I'm Byron. I'm over here at the ABC restaurant. I brought him dinner tonight, or her dinner tonight. Can you bring him out? I'd love to just bring him dinner. Tell him a little bit about what we do. They'll come out for a free meal. Can pretty much guarantee it. And then you have that conversation that you want to have. You've bought yourself 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it might be, to have that conversation. So visit as many folks as you can. If you can't, or they're not available. So Abby, I saw a question and answer earlier about that. Can you read that question for me? Because I didn't have a chance to really clear it. The question was about communication, thoughts on warm calling.
Yes, that's the one. It's thoughts on warm calling and how to get decision makers on the phone. They never seem available to take a call. Is email really the best?
Yeah, I would say email is not the best. Email is going to, in fact, most retailers, you will not get their email address. A lot of times they don't have one, or they don't have one that they can share because they don't want external emails coming into their internal intranet system. So a lot of times they will not share an email address. A lot of times those general managers will give you their personal email address because they don't have either one that they can give out, or they're told not to. I would say that's where the visit comes in place. I do think calling someone, if you tell them who you are, where you're from, they're going to prioritize customer service and other things over talking to someone trying to sell them something. So I think a visit is key if you can do it, if you can squeeze it into your day. I think we're far enough out. You can still do that effectively, especially for your top tier targets. And I'll be honest with you, your competitors, for the most part, are not going to do that. I'm just telling you straight up. Most of them are not going to take the time to do it. If it's as important revenue for you, if you want to do $8, $10, $12, $15,000 in catering just over these 3 or 4 days or more, I think it's going to require some of those kind of visits. I think targeted phone calls, they're not available, if you can't ever find the window of time where they're actually working, a phone call might work. You might have to be creative on the phone. Maybe not. Just say, hey, just tell them it's Byron. Don't tell them, don't tell them who you are, where you're from. Just please tell them it's Byron. They'll know. Or I've done that before. And then you get them on the phone. Hey, it's Byron. I'm over here. I think you came in one day, or whatever. You can muddle your way through that if you want to. Strategic email follow up, if you can get that personal email, or if they do give you an email. Again, this goes back to, can you find them on LinkedIn? That might be an option there. Look to see if they're active in any way. I would say if someone's not posted in 3 months or 6 months, they're likely not going to check it even if you leave them a direct message. So I would just say, from a visit where you can, call where you can't. I think most of the time your secondary, your specialty retailers, and your small independents, you're more likely to reach someone on the phone. Whereas your big boxes, I would just tell you, visit is your best option if you can do it, and just get a mental plan together. What's my speech? What am I going to say? But that is an effective visit if you can do it. It's you'll be memorable. You'll be a solution, especially if you can find out if you fit in their budget. That's just kind of where I would approach this. Oh, I'm already at 4 o'clock, so I'm going to go quick. Sorry. Connection rate expectations. I think a lot of times, if you can visit, more often than not, you're going to be plus 50. On a phone strategy, our folks traditionally are in the 20 to 30% range, but we are calling now. When we have restaurant partners, we're doing Black Friday now. If you are waiting 3 or 4 weeks and they get closer to the holiday and they're hiring and they're training and they're doing all these other things, they're going to get harder and harder to reach. So that's why this window, I think, is so key. Again, geographic efficiency, stay within 3 to 5 miles, unless you've got some major opportunity a little further out. If it's a distribution center Amazon traditionally will order most of the time. I'm going to say not all the time, but most of the time they're going to order on Easy Cater. There's a relationship there. It's already established. I have heard some people ordering around it. That is a possibility. You will have to start with security. You will have to find your way and navigate through. If you are near an Amazon distribution facility, drop a fishbowl in your lobby, have your staff promote, drop in a business card to win lunch delivered or whatever, have a notepad for people. You will find that people that work at the distribution center are likely eating in your restaurant. That's a great way to find some folks. You want to target general managers for most retail places if there's an HR manager available, but who you're going to reach out to is going to vary and how you want to communicate with them. I would say HR managers are more likely to give you an email address. What we found from general managers traditionally is they will not share that information. Follow-up challenge management, balance persistence with patience. So there's times where you don't want to bother, but please don't give up, especially if you feel like the opportunity is huge and big enough. Don't let them stonewall you a little bit if you believe. Don't be rude, don't be over the top, but be persistent, because sometimes persistence is rewarded if it's professional. So persistent strategy for high value opportunities, LinkedIn reinforcement, if you can. Once you talk to them, have a good conversation, always go and see if you can find them on LinkedIn and connect. Anything like that is going to help. It'll at least give you another possible communication channel to be able to work with. And then again, post-delivery relationship building is always huge. Anytime you place an order, don't wait more than 24 hours. And even sometimes same day is going to be something to look into. So our last area here is execution mastery. Danielle, am I going to the bottom again, or?
Yeah, let's just go to the bottom. And this is really just a kind of a recap of what we've talked about. This is really your 6-week out operational playbook, right? We've covered a lot of this. This is just a quick reminder, no pickups, multiple shifts available. Like I said, you could hit a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've seen clients do it before. Be flexible, be patient. These are all just kind of reminders. Some additional things that we want to talk about is billing and administration. We don't want to forget back office, right? One, you always want to communicate during the process. 2, you always want to send a thank you and a follow-up, setting yourself up for business. But 3, you want to make sure your billing is easy, detailed, receipts, because if you have a great flawless delivery and the food is great, and then they've got to chase you for receipts and things like that, and it becomes a headache, they're not going to reorder. So this is really a whole A to Z process. So follow up.
And the digital receipt is because if you bring a paper receipt, it's going to get lost. We can almost guarantee it at the delivery. So that's why the digital delivery the next day is so important.
True. You want to make sure that you are thinking in advance. Ingredients, enough packaging. You want to have backup. You want to add a 15% buffer for last minute changes on pricing, because there's opportunity to go back and forth. You want to think about, where am I going to keep all this food until I can get it delivered to Target or Walmart? So you want to think internally, operationally, how do you want to set this up? You want to make sure that it's organized, it's controlled, you're grabbing the right food for the right client at the right time. You want to double check everything. There's napkins, there's forks, there's everything you want to really take into account before you even start to go into that Black Friday rush. And then from an internal standpoint, staffing is important. You want to make sure during this very busy time, if you want to get this business, you have enough people in place so that it's not frantic and panic. You want to make sure you have your kitchen staff, your lead cooks, your prep cooks, people separate that are doing packaging, somebody over managing it. The delivery people are in place. The drivers, if you're doing your own vehicles, you want to make sure that's there. And then obviously support staff, whether that's managers, quality control, maybe somebody's checking each of the packages before it goes out the door. But internally, this is important for you guys as well. Down below, we have some delivery logistics and route optimization, just some timing that you want to think about. Quality control. Before delivery,
Sorry.
What do you want to look at? During delivery, here's your checkpoint. After delivery, what do you want to do? So this is very high level, quick checkpoint. Make sure you're on point with everything. And then you always want to have emergency protocols and backup plans in place. If there's a no-show, you don't have enough people on the floor to handle deliveries. If you're a supply shortage, do you have a nearby restaurant that has the stuff that can still make the delivery? So you want to really think through all that before you get into the rush. right?
A couple things. I'm going to make some notes here, and I know we're running out of time. We'll go quickly. But if you have a local produce company and you're not coordinated with them already, get coordinated. They sometimes can be a lifesaver for things like lettuce and tomato and onions, and sometimes even things like cheeses and sauces, etc., that can kind of help you get through a bind if you need. Or a restaurant supply company for clamshells or bags or boxes or anything you might need. Even if you don't use them, make sure you have relationships established because they're going to provide you support down the line. I would also say if you don't have a local delivery company, maybe it's a good time to reach out and try to have some conversations with them. Because if you do self delivery, but you kind of overextend what you're capable of doing, having them as a backup is very key. Operationally, I mean, I was in operations for a really long time. I wanted to share one thing about geographic clustering and something that we did once. And this is a single example, and I'll go through it quickly. But some years ago, I made the attempt because if you understand with honey baked, the 3 busiest days of the year sometimes are the 3 days before Thanksgiving, and so you get into Christmas and you're like, gotta do Black Friday now. So we said, screw it, we're gonna go all in and see what happens. And I killed a couple of microwaves and did a couple things in the process. But for delivery and distribution, we literally deployed 2 people in the mall and we deployed 2 vehicles that were delivering around the outside. What entrance are you in? Come pick up. I've got 3 bags. Drop, drop, drop. And so that way we'd have to worry about parking and all the other stuff. We actually deployed people using a walkie-talkie system, and we're able to dispatch drivers. And we didn't want to park. We didn't have to park anywhere. Just pull up to a door, open the hatch, grab 2 bags, close the hatch, go to the other opening, and then they go back to the restaurant, pick up more. We were able to do I want to say at some point, I think we did $9,000 in catering back when lunch was $5 a piece at one lunch period. So understanding that there's some capabilities that you have if you just get a little creative. We've got some catering leaders out here. And I know one of the things that we wanted to put this deep dive for you is maybe you don't currently have a plan. Maybe you're new to your brand. Maybe you are new in role. And you don't we don't have any quality control processes or any delivery logistics ideas. So hopefully this will help you to formulate some if you need some last minute opportunities to put some of this together. So part of the reason we wanted to build this for you is for you to be able to have some tools and things that you might need. I want to go through one more slide and then we'll end it. It's the takeaways. And one of the things that Danielle and I are always real passionate about is we've been on a lot of webinars where after an hour, we're going, okay, what did I learn? What was new for me here? And some of it and maybe some of you are feeling that way now. I apologize. We try to always make sure we give you something new and something that you'll enjoy. But we wanted to make sure we had some takeaways. 1, Black Friday catering is about sustenance and support. Your job is to make the general manager or the management team's life easier. It's not to entertain them. It is not to feed them food they've never tried before. It's to provide them with a solution and to ease their burden, to eliminate stress off of their shoulders by putting it onto yours. You are not just selling your food, you're selling you and your ability to make their day easier. So don't ever forget that. Your outreach should reflect your brand, category, and budget. If you are a $15 to $20 person and you want to do Black Friday, chase the right targets. That's ultimately the goal here. Chase the right opportunities for you. Don't overspend your time in places where you just don't fit, either by budget or your product is not easy. Look for folks that have a little bit more time. Abby, I'm going to ask you this because I know you did a spa. You used to work at a spa for a while. Are they busy at the holidays?
Oh, yes.
Going by buying product and things like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I was thinking
It's
that might be
a busy time.
Again, another specialty type. Look into your spas and salons. They're going to be selling a lot gift card sales, gift certificate sales.
It's a lot of gift card sales, yeah.
So sending quotes is a no-brainer. It's transparent pricing. It makes people clearly see what you have to offer. Pickup is not an option. Please, I'm telling you, you're going to just run yourself into stress. Don't put that burden on them. There are too many other things going on. I would say you're better off ignoring Black Friday than requiring people to pick up. Try to come up with a solution for those days at least. You don't have to have delivery all the time, but at least for those 3 days, come up with a solution if you can. Messaging is about solving a problem. So whatever message you want to articulate about your brand and what you're doing here, you have to be solving a problem. This is not about your restaurant. It's about what you're going to be able to do to help that general manager or team. So don't heavily focus on talking about you. Talk about them. It's a sales tactic. It's a tool that works. What can you do to make their lives better? That should be the focus of your messaging. Your brand, your reputation is on the top of that, but your clear number one message should be, what can I do to make this easier for you? Communication should be personal as possible. I don't mean overly personable, maybe is the better term there, meaning that it's not sales speak, it's not rigid, it's not overly formal. It's, here's what we do, here's what we're very good at, and we think this would be the right fit. I can come up with some options for you. I know there's some Teriyaki Madness owners on here. I see it. You guys are amazing at this. Your ability to cut to the chase and be very specific in what you offer. And I've seen your packaging, I've seen your whole model. It's a fantastic model. You guys can crush this. Keep your operations simple, minimize, streamline, and plan, plan, plan. To what Danielle just said, don't think you're going to just walk into the week of Thanksgiving and then suddenly have it all set. You need to make sure your inventory is planned. You need to make sure your supply chain and what you're going to get delivered and when it gets delivered is very important. Your ability to store it all in the interim and the ability to not create chaos in the restaurant. The ability to close orders early comes into benefit here. So you can then know, how many drivers do I need? How many people do you need to schedule? How much prep do I need to do? All of that is determined by how quickly you know orders are coming. It's not that we don't want surprise orders, but you don't want it to be a bulk of surprise orders because it's so hard to manage. Try to get things closed as early as possible. It might be worth 5% discount or free cookies or free delivery to get it in and stabilize some things for you. And then use creative ways to maximize your revenue. I'm just telling you, be creative. I did a lot of half sandwiches in my life. Hey, we have a hearty sandwich. How about a half sandwich and a cookie and a chip? And we'll do that for $7. Sometimes that subtle adjustment doesn't mess up your operations. It doesn't mess up your sandwich builds, and it doesn't mean you're creating new menu items. It just means you're being creative in how to utilize your menu effectively. Those are the things that I think are very important. We believe wholeheartedly in Black Friday. We believe that it's a huge catering opportunity. Restaurants right now more than ever need to maximize the catering channel, and this is a big one. This one falls into the same category as back to school or appreciation season. There's a lot of opportunity here if you go after it. So, and okay, I don't see any more questions or answers. If anyone has one, go ahead, Abby.
I do have two I want to just mention right here at the end. We touched a little bit on budget, but I just wanted to kind of bring this one back up on what is the ideal, like the magic number of per person budget right now for retail.
Danielle might know. I think it's $10 now, but
I was going to say 10 to 12 on the mat. I was going to say 10 to 12 is your range, but
I would say that some southern markets or Midwest markets, you might be even in the 8 to 10 range. I think in the Northeast, you're probably 10 to 12, even South Florida, 10 to 12, California, 10 to 12. So some of it will vary based on your region. And I think it also is going to vary a little bit on the health of your market. If you're a growing, booming town, you might have a little bit higher budget. If it's if you're in a dying mall that's got 2 anchors left and a bunch of businesses you've never heard of, it might be harder. But I'd say $10 and then anywhere from 8 to 12 depending on where you are regionally. So
I agree.
Cool. And then the last thing, this came up whenever we were discussing like the urgency offers to kind of get some orders in.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to add here. They just said I've done it for holiday orders, but I'm not sure if it fits the retailer needs for Black Friday since the head counts are not finalized sometimes until closer to the event date. So I'm not sure if you had something.
Right. So I think that goes back to closing the order versus closing and getting paid. I'll tell you some of the things I did in the past was, how many people do you think you're going to have? Give me on the low end. I'll have anywhere between 50 and 60. All right, let's get you booked for 50 and then I'll bill you for the other 10 after. I don't know if that fits your POS systems or your ability to do those sorts of things. Sometimes just locking in and getting a credit card number, which we don't do anymore probably, but the ability to capture some payment information on the front end, at least, or a deposit and then do a partial refund maybe. I don't know, Danielle, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's the way to handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends on the rule.
If you can book it right, and even if you go mid-tier, and if you have to bump it up and come back, but yeah.
I think if you're a GM on a corporate side, ask that question of your team of what your leadership would like to do. If you're an owner, I think how bad do you want the order? I mean, I think sometimes I would probably say, well, let's go ahead and book you for that many. And if you have more, we'll worry about that on the back end. I'll capture the other 8 or 5 or whatever it might be. I think locking things in is going to help you plan so well.
Plans. Yeah. The locking is the planning. How many people to hire, how much food, how much ingredients, all that kind of stuff helps you plan as you get closer.
I'm officially 16 minutes over, so I think we're going to probably say bye. Thank you to everyone. We're going to give me a day or so. We'll get this rolled out. And I appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate the stick-to-itiveness. I saw we were almost at 60 plus all the way through the end here. So thank you very much. And we'll get this information out to you shortly. All right.
Thank you. Have a
Bye,
great day.
y'all.